You can lock me up. You can ban what I do physically. But you cannot ban what I feel for my country, what I feel for my people, for my brothers and sisters, and what I want my country to be. You can't ban that.
This year's Freedom Film Fest is just about over. All the national screenings have been carried out, save for Kuantan, where the venue owner got spooked by the KDN, apparently over a controversial Singapore film called To Singapore with Love by Singaporean Tan Pin Pin. This story is about Singapore dissidents who are not able to return to Singapore. You can read about the film in its site, To Singapore with Love. But during the course of the Freedom Film Fest, we've interviewed a number of regional filmmakers. And we thought that even though it's over for this year, the interviews are quite interesting. So here are the interviews with the regional filmmakers.
Ban Expression in Tibet is a film about the young Tibetans living inside Tibet under the Chinese rule, who has the the Chinese modern education, and the young Tibetans, especially the artists, the intellectuals, the painters, the musicians, slowly raising their own voice and openly challenging the China's narrative on Tibet issue. And since 2008, in 2008 there was a huge uprising in Tibet. Hundreds of Tibetans were killed, thousands were arrested, hundreds went missing. And that uprising had a kind of a very profound and transformational effect on the Tibetan society at large, And the Tibetans began to record their own stories, express their views. So basically, the film is about the expression of the Tibetans, which are being censored and monitored by the Chinese government. Yes, but most of the footages that I shoot were in exile. We were not, as you know, we're not able to go into Tibet and shoot. But since 2008, since the uprising in 2008, many of the videos some Tibetans were able to smuggle the videos out of Tibet, and many videos were being able to transferred by either a messaging app or WeChat or anything. So yeah, I've used many of the footages which were smuggled out of Tibet. We didn't go there in Tibet by ourselves, but yeah. I work in an NGO called Voice of Tibet, which is a radio news service based in Dharamsala, northern India. We broadcast the Tibetan news, the happenings inside Tibet, and also the happenings inside the Tibetan exile. So I worked there as a video editor, and I was assigned this project. So basically, I did everything from taking the videos, shooting, editing, directing. So basically, you can call me. I did the whole the project. We have shown the film in February in Oslo, Norway, during the Human Rights, Human Wrongs Film Festival in Norway. We were able to show it in Norway, and we were very glad that Malaysia was able to screen it this year, and hoping that maybe we have tried a couple of film festivals across the Europe and America, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, hoping to show it some other parts of the world.
Sekarang kami sedang membuat film, itu judulnya Silent Victims. Silent Victims ini bercerita tentang korban-korban seksual abusement. Mereka di-abuse ketika mereka masih kecil. Dan mereka diam selama bertahun-tahun, selama belasan tahun mereka tidak berani cakap kepada siapapun juga, bahkan kepada their parents mereka tidak berani, semacam itu.
Ini fictional atau memang
Real story.
settingnya di mana?
Settingnya ini di Kalimantan Tengah, khususnya Kota Palangkaraya. Tetapi kejadian-kejadian abusement itu terjadinya di desa-desa, di daerah-daerah pedalaman di Kalimantan Tengah.
So sekarang ini what is the stage of the production are you on?
Pardon?
Are you in the process of shooting still?
Ya, untuk syuting dari para victims ini kami sudah buat, sudah kerjakan juga dari beberapa tokoh seperti kepala dinas sosial. Tapi masih ada beberapa hal untuk kita masih shoot untuk sebagai pelengkap supaya semakin bagus macam itu.
Ini proyeknya bulan apa?
Kalau mulainya itu mulai bulan Juli dan kita mulai garap itu Agustus. Garap
Julai
ya, tahun ini.
Proses pembuatan untuk syuting memang kami mulai dari bulan Juli, tetapi untuk encourage victims ini untuk berani berbicara itu sudah almost 2 years. Baru 3 bulan terakhir, late 3 months, mereka berani untuk berbicara. Jadi kita segera persiapkan skrip, kemudian kita lakukan syuting.
Umur dia berapa?
Umur
Umur
mereka
fiktif.
victims ada yang masih 19 tahun, ada yang sudah di atas 20 tahun, ada yang sudah 22 tahun macam itu.
Jadi masa abuse tuh umur dia berapa?
Mereka masih kecil, rata-rata di masa kanak-kanak usia sekolah-sekolah dasar.
Ada yang 6 tahun, ada yang 9 tahun, ada yang 8 tahun kena abuse.
Oke, project ini kan dia di finance oleh siapa? How do you get
Okay.
funding?
Explain.
Untuk finance kami menggunakan dana pribadi. Jadi dari teman-teman dan kami sama-sama kumpul-kumpul dari mereka juga. Sebenarnya tidak terlalu banyak makan dana karena kami untuk alat-alat sendiri sudah ada dan karena sumber dayanya teman-teman sendiri.
Jadi kami punya grup, sebuah community. Community inilah yang tergerak untuk melakukan, untuk angkat ini kasus macam tuh. Jadi kita pendanaan itu dari kami sendiri. Macam tuh. Kalau saya bekerja di NGO itu JPIC, Justice Peace Integrity Operation. Tetapi untuk gerakan Dayak Voices ini movement secara umum. Jadi tidak terkait dengan NGO. Ya, kita bisa bilang independen juga. Kalau ini Radu Belu Media,
Ya, jadi Ranuwelu Media itu independen juga, gerakan dari
Orang-orang
Christian
muda.
community ya orang-orang muda Kristen di Kota Palangkaraya yang mau menunjukkan identitas Dayak mereka dan salah satu caranya dengan media. Makanya kita dikumpulkan di media, kita sama-sama buat karya dan akhirnya bisa dikenal orang.
di Kalimantan, ini kami bicara lebih sempit lagi, Kalimantan Tengah, Sentral Kalimantan, itu ada lebih dari 23 subtribes, 23 Dayak lagi. Nah, etnik dari para victims ini adalah orang Dayak asli. Orang Dayak asli. That's why abusement itu terjadi di desa-desa ketika mereka masih kecil. Pertama, challenges-nya adalah the pain of the victims. Jadi ini adalah isu yang sangat sensitif. Itu ketika bicara saja tentang itu mereka sudah mulai cry. Jadi prosesnya ini adalah proses untuk membuat mereka feel better, feel healed, sembuh, pulih, tidak trauma, lepas dari traumatic condition, baru mereka dare to speak. Macam tuh. Jadi challenging-nya di situ untuk sabar menunggu keberanian itu dan pemulihan itu. Karena untuk pergi ke psikiater atau pergi ke polis langsung mereka tak mau. Sebenarnya kita ini juga di media magazine juga. Kami juga dari magazine. Dan baru dalam beberapa waktu terakhir ini kita pakai media audiovisual, media film. Karena kami rasa ini akan lebih efektif untuk bisa audiens akan melihat ekspresi dan mendengar suara langsung dari para victims ini. Jadi tidak hanya cerita dari mulut ke mulut, tetapi mereka melihat langsung. Dan kami harapkan itu akan encourage victims yang lain bahwa I have to be there to speak also. The first, what I expect is the recovering of the victims themselves. Salah satu bukti mereka sudah pulih, recovered dari traumatic condition, mereka berani bicara. Kalau mereka tidak berani bicara, berarti mereka masih takut, masih luka, masih painful. Macam itu. Itu pertama. Kedua, untuk encourage victims yang lain untuk berani bicara. Karena kalau ini dibiarkan, no one want to talk about this, maka itu akan terus terjadi di daerah-daerah, di desa-desa, akan terus terjadi abusement, seksual abusement, pemerkosaan dan sebagainya. Tetapi ketika makin banyak victims yang berani bicara, maka kasus ini akan mulai terangkat. Saya sendiri tidak expect langsung apa yang akan polis lakukan, kemudian apa yang akan pemerintah lakukan. Tapi first challenging-nya ada pada budaya, pada culture. Karena ini sensitif terhadap culture kami. Tetapi itu terjadi, dan kalau kita bersikap seolah-olah nothing happens, maka semakin rusaklah ini gadis-gadis Dayak ini karena sexual abusement itu. Okay. To document this case, attack belum, saya bilang. Jadi that's why sekarang kami sedang sangat hati-hati bagaimana untuk mengatur strategi untuk mulai publish ini, untuk mulai spread ini, kemudian socialize juga kepada victims. Kami sudah koordinasi dengan local government yang terkait case ini juga, tetapi masih mengatur strategi karena tantangannya, challengingnya itu tidak pada government tapi pada society itu. Dan untuk saat ini belum. Mungkin ada yang mau ditambah.
Ya, jadi karena pertimbangan selain dari society juga dari keluarga, family mereka, karena mereka orang tuanya kan belum tahu. Jadi kita harus memikirkan pertimbangan itu juga. Kita harus tunggu waktu yang tepat, waktu yang siap untuk mereka juga bisa buka semua ini.
Oke. Saya targetkan akhir tahun ini sudah fix, sudah clear semua film, dan kami sudah punya plan untuk bagaimana untuk strategi distribusinya itu untuk di awal tahun. Tapi sampai akhir tahun ini kami rencanakan untuk selesaikan semua, rampungkan semua.
And you will be taking it to film festivals also?
Yeah.
Ya, maybe. Ya, pasti.
The director yang punya ide itu dia salah satu victims juga. Jadi dia yang ini setelah saya encourage, dia bilang ya saya mau bicara, dan encourage teman-teman yang lain. Dia sangat semangat untuk bawa ini gitu. Tapi tentu sebelum kepada dunia juga harus socialize untuk orang Dayak sendiri macam tuh.
Kalau buat Sinta ini bukan the first. Buat saya kalau untuk bersama tim ini bukan the first juga, tapi untuk secara pribadi dari ide sendiri ada satu the first yang after 13 years itu. Tapi kalau untuk bersama tim,
victim ini second lah.
ya second film bersama tim.
The first film was what?
After 13 years itu after 13 years selepas 13 tahun.
That was the first film.
For me.
First film. We make it together,
Yeah,
but
together, but
she's
idea
the director and the writer.
Ya, the writer, but kami mengerjakannya itu bersama-sama. Jadi kalau dibilang hasil pribadi juga tidak, karena itu teamwork.
Cakap sedikit tentang
Jadi selepas 13 tahun itu bercerita tentang after konflik etnik di Sampit. Jadi dulu di Sampit, Kalimantan Tengah itu pernah terjadi etnik suku asli, suku Dayak dengan suku pendatang.
Pendatang tuh Madura kan?
sudah tahu.
Nah itu, jadi
Aku udah tengok.
jadi selepas 13 tahun kita membandingkan apa yang berubah. Nah di sana ada satu tugu yang sebagai lambang bahwa perdamaian, bahwa tidak akan ada lagi konflik di Sampit, apalagi tentang suku. Tapi makin kesini ada perubahan
yang membawa lagi ke arah
rasisme. Ya, jadi dulu pun kerusuhan etnik ini hampir terbawa ke rasisme. Nah, kita coba hindarin itu dengan bangun tugu, tapi ternyata kesini hampir terulang kembali, dan kita buat video ini untuk memperingatkan terutama orang-orang di Sampit jangan terjadi rasisme seperti dulu lagi.
Sampit, kota yang tidak pernah tidur. Saya selalu mengagumi keasrian kota ini. Lahir dan tumbuh besar di sini merupakan anugerah bagi saya. Walau kejadian menyakitkan 13 tahun silam, begitu membekas di hati. Memandang kota ini dan melihat orang-orang di sekitar saya membuat hati terasa tenang. Setidaknya, kota pelabuhan ini terlihat baik-baik saja. Tetapi entah mengapa, rasa hati saya tidaklah setenang kehidupan masyarakat Sampit yang saya lihat. Sebagai seorang asli kelahiran Sampit, saya masih terus kejadian menyedihkan 13 tahun silam itu.
Ya, yang saya mau sampaikan begini, kami Dayak orang-orang Dayak ini banyaklah orang dengar cerita-cerita seram tentang orang Dayak kan, makan orang, makan daging manusia, pakai pakaian kulit kayu, masih telanjang, terus punya power magic bisa bunuh orang lewat laut. Saya mau katakan Dayak tidak seseram itu, ya. Manusia Dayak punya martabat, punya harga diri, dan di sini kami dari Dayak Voices, dari Ranuvelu Media, we want to deliver the story about Dayak from our own perspective, bahwa kami ada dan kami tidak seperti yang dunia pandang begitu seram, tetapi kami berusaha untuk berkontribusi kepada dunia ini, apa yang baik, apa yang bisa kami berikan kepada bangsa dan kepada saudara-saudara lain di negara lain melalui media ini. Kami di sini untuk pertama join Freedom Film Festival ini untuk menimba pengalaman, ya, menimba pengalaman karena kami masih sangat baru, jadi mau lihat pengalaman, sharing dengan filmmakers di sini, juga bisa mendengar masukan dan pengalaman dari filmmakers yang lain, negara-negara lain tentang isu yang sama, kemudian bisa bagikan kepada teman-teman di komunitas untuk semangat solidaritas. Jadi itu tujuan kami ada di sini. Workshopnya sangat bagus sekali dan saya menerima banyak sekali masukan, banyak sekali pemahaman baru, dan ini akan sangat berguna untuk kami melanjutkan langkah Dayak Voices dan Ranuvelu Media ini terkait menyesuaikan dengan culture Dayak juga yang tidak bisa kalau ya masih sensitif lah kalau saya bilang. Jadi itu workshopnya sangat-sangat bagus.
My name is Mindan U, a filmmaker from Myanmar.
Tell us about your film that you submitted for the Freedom Film Fest.
My film is about the assembly law. Yeah, they just state in 2012. Yeah, this is the new government reform after that. Yeah, and this is the period of the 2012 to 2004. Yeah, I'm covered from in my documentary. This is when we shoot it. We just shoot, and for example, at the court, not inside the court, outside the court, we shoot it, and then the authority came to us, and then he told me, you don't have for shooting, you have to get permission or something. No, this is outside the court. You can shoot it freely at the road, and then we shoot it. If you want to charge me, yeah, you can charge me later, like this. And I mean, we are still trying to get our freedom of expression. Now, yeah.
And so far, have you been arrested?
Not in my frame, but we have to sign this for like the next time we don't do it again for like violation or something. Yeah, just sign in, then but we do it again. Last October we completed already, but we have to shoot it again for my main character released from the prisoner, and we shoot it again, and then for editing post-production we started this year 2004 January, and then I finished it for post-production March. Yeah, the first we screened it in Myanmar already, and now about over six places. Yeah, we screen it at the embassy, American embassy in Myanmar, like the university, at the trader for like traveling. Yeah, film festival. We started already. The first time before this government come in, yeah, we have to apply to the censorship board. First, censorship board is under the Ministry of Information, but now they have the censorship committee, but it's organized by the real people, not from the authority. They changed it, and then this is not now. It is not under the Ministry of Information. That's why we just have to apply to them, but they think we have them and we can scream it.
Theo bước chân thời gian, mùa xuân cứ như úa tàn, vào đâu biết ân tình tha thiết vẫn nguyên vẹn, chìm vào đêm không gì hay xinh xinh.
Rồi, bây giờ giờ bái hơn xin mời đón khán giả. Giờ chỉ đầu kiện cho các bé để bây giờ số ngay từ bây giờ nha.
Nhưng mà lên tivi á là cả nước đều biết là cái cuộc sống đời thường của cuộc đời bóng gió khổ.
Trước trắng háo rồi sao đen thui, đừng có quay khúc đầu vú bà.
Ngày mẹ sanh con ra nói thằng này là gì, đàn ông tánh tình đàn bà, trai trắng gà trai, gái nào dòng gái, đồng tình hay luyến ngại, mà sao nó thương con trai.
So I tell you very short about my film. Because this is my first film, so I made it for 5 years to finish the film. And the film about the group, the homosexual group, they travel in the countryside of Vietnam to make the show. Like they sing a song, they have some small game, like the gun hunting, the train, something like that. But at the end, they only stay in the countryside of Vietnam. That story about the group like this, I know from my childhood, because in my childhood I live in nearby the forest, and the group like this, they came to my hometown to make the show, so I know about that kind of group. So when I grow up and I thinking about my first film, so it remind me to that story. So I try to looking for them, but at the time they're not in the city anymore. So I ask everyone where are they now? And the people say long time I didn't see them. But one day, when I working in the province, in Nha Trang province, so I saw the group of Madame Phuc, and I come to ask her to make film, and she say okay, and the film go on. Okay, when I finished my cinema school in 2007.
And then when did you start Madame Phuc?
2009. Yeah, I start.
And then when did you finish Madame Phuc?
And this year in March, 2014, in March. I think in 2011 we start to edit, because after my shooting we have to looking for the funding, and after that where I working with editor Vietnamese editor to make like the raw cut with 4 hours, and then with the 4 hours a pro cut we try again to find the funding, and then in last year in 2013, so I and my friend editor, so we edit again and finish it by editing. And this year, so I came to France to finish the sound mixer. The cost? Oh, the cost. We didn't have the cost because why? Because I cannot get any funding. So it means somebody they support me. Like my editor, some crew, they working like for free until now. So I don't have money to pay to give them back already. We didn't make the freelancer, no, but we still own the money of the people. No, it's a part of mine, but the other funding is from, because in Vietnam we have the Wagon Group. And we have around group we made like the workshop in Vietnam, and at that time we still have some money in the workshop, so they give me some money for the shooting, some money, and my money also for shooting. And after that, Goethe Institute got interested in Vietnam. Like they give not like the fund, but like the support for salary for my Vietnamese editor to edit for someone. And my friend editor, she like work for free until now.
So what are you doing now?
Now, okay, after finish my film, so okay, most of the time I travel with my film to the festival, and some festival they want showing my films. I travel with my film, and besides, now I'm thinking about new project. In the beginning, I only stay 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, and the last part for finish the film, I stay with them for 3 months to finish the film. It depends on time.
Because when they were attacked, you were there.
Oh, sorry?
When they were attacked by these other boys, you were there.
Oh, sure. So,
So they were quite open. It's like they opened themselves up to you.
Oh yeah. Because I think because the way when I come to them, when I go to them, I go like friend, not like the filmmaker, and I sleep with them because for me they're like the women. So I sleep with them, I talk with them every day. So when I sleep with them, so I listen their story every night because they speak to each other. So I decide. But in beginning when I research the film, I didn't think. I only think about story about group and the main character is Madame Phục. That's all. And the others, I have to discover day by day when I stay with them. So I listen them every day. So I that's why I can close with them like this. So we have no distance between each others. All the time, it means I shooting all the time? Oh no, for sure. How come? Yeah, cannot. But I know sometimes when I feel something happen, I feel, for example, when the boy come, I didn't know the boy come. At the time, I just mentioned that I used to interview them. But when I start to try to interview them and the boy come, say the story a little bit. Like a documentary film, you never know about the future. So I got just shooting and something like a gift from life to your film. Yes, I think now the time to think about new project. Yeah, and besides, I have to think about to earn money for living also. Yeah. For me, I have no idea about advertise. But for me, they are women. They are women, same as me. So everyone asks me why I make the film about the advertise. I say no, I didn't make the film about the advertise. I just made the film about the woman. That's all. Yeah, because in my mind, I never think they are the advertise. I think they are women like me. I think maybe because I'm thinking like this, so I can grow to them like in the film you saw. Wow, at the time it's a very difficult time for me because they are the most important person who want to watch the film. But it's like a big surprise for us. Surprise because after some months, so I still because I stay with them for long. I have a lot of a good relationship with them, and then I heard about it. Oh, I think it's terrible time for me because at that time my film not done yet. And they cannot watch the film anymore, so not easy to tell you how I feel. I feel like, wow, I don't know, but it's so bad at that time. And I think I take some months to be normal again. Yeah, not easy for me at that time in 2011.